Insane, you make me crazy, insane, that's how I feel, insane, you make me crazy, insane, that's how I feel.
Hey guys, and thanks so much for coming back for another episode of Dysfunction Junction. I hope everyone had a good week. Mine was good. Nothing too crazy. Well, at least not for me anyway. This week the kids were off for spring break, and thank God I had to work. And I know that sounds bad, but it's really hard to be off with them during a vacation when you're not going anywhere. Okay, so for example, why is it that they can get up super freaking early during a vacation, but I basically need to get a crane to get them up on a school day? I mean, seriously. And it wouldn't be such a big deal if they would leave me alone. I mean, they pace back and forth in front of the door, and they have, I don't know what's on these kids' feet, but I mean, it's like they're walking with bricks on their feet. And then they come in the room and ask me the weirdest questions, like, can I have breakfast? Yeah. Have I ever not let you have breakfast? Or what are we doing today? You know, stupid stuff like that. And then sometimes they don't even ask me a question. Sometimes I just open my eyes and there they are. They're just staring at me. It's creepy. It drives me nuts. Then they want to be entertained. And I think I've talked to you about this before. I don't want to play with you. Why do I have to play with you? That's why I have so many kids, so they could play with each other. But no, they still want more. They're never satisfied, ever. I swear, if I hear, look what I can do, one more frickin' time, listen, I don't know if you guys ever watched the TV show Mad TV, but my daughter reminds me of a character that is on that show. They had this character named Stuart, and I swear they were depicting my future. And that's what he did all the time. Hey, look what I can do. And he would do something stupid, you know, clappy, twisty, jump in the air thingy. How many frickin' times can I watch the kid do the exact same thing? I saw you the first 15 times you did it. Why do I have to watch you again? Or they keep saying, hey, Mom, look at me. I'm looking right at you. Mom, are you looking? Mom. So, Mom, hey, Mom, listen, Mom. Oh, my gosh. I'm looking at you. I'm looking right at you. Just show me already. I can't handle it. But the absolute worst thing about the kids being on vacation is my husband. He's driving me insane. If I hear, any more complaints about the snacks being low or the toilet paper being low, why are we out of snacks? How can we be out of snacks? I just bought those snacks. I don't know. Maybe it's because the kids have been home for a week and they're bored. Relax. Well, why are we out of toilet paper? I just bought that toilet paper. How can we be out? That company must be making the rules smaller because there's no way that we should be this low. Again, I don't know. Maybe it's because we have 4 kids that are full of crap and they've been home for a week. Seriously, dude, you need to calm down or you're going to give yourself a stroke, and I have enough butts to wipe, okay? Aren't you glad you tuned in? Speaking of how blessed I am to be a mother, Mother's Day is coming up. Whoop, whoop. Anyway, every day should be Mother's Day, but it's not. So I've decided that from now until Mother's Day, which would be like the Monday after, that's going to be my theme. I'm going to be, all going to be about moms and what a beautiful thing it is to be a mom and la, la, la. It's true. being a mom can be a beautiful thing, but sometimes it can get pretty ugly. I mean, when you first find out that you're pregnant, all you do is dream about all the good things that are going to happen. Their first smile, watching them learn how to walk, how to talk. You'll regret that, by the way. But what you don't think about is all the bad things that can happen. Being up all night, teething, the poop that goes all the way up the back. I still haven't figured out how poop can defy gravity. And then, of course, that, talking thing. Those are, bad things beyond your control. But what about when you are the one that's doing the bad thing? As much as you want to be that perfect mom, the odds of that happening are slim to none. So even though we feel like we're super mom, we're only human and we make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes affect our children. Now, I'm not just talking out of both sides of my face here. I have made some doozies myself. I know, it's hard to believe, but it's true. But before I show you mine, I had to go searching to see if there was one out there with bigger mom fails than me. And of course, my fellow dysfunctional moms did not disappoint. So I made a list. There's about 10 of them. And, there was more than that. But these are my favorites. So one lady said that when her son was about 2 years old, he was very stealthily got up from his nap. And she didn't know that he was awake. And apparently he popped the screen out of his window. And they had raised it to let in a breeze because it was really hot. They didn't think twice about it because he was in his crib and he was asleep. She got a call from her brother and he said, "Hey, I just drove by your house and I think your kid is dangling out the window. You might want to check on him." And sure enough, he was. He had gotten up, climbed out of the crib, went over to the open window and was trying to get out. But the ground wasn't where he thought it was, so he was just dangling out the window. That reminds me of the time when I went to my sister's house and her 2 kids were sitting out on the roof. They climbed out the window from their bedroom and was sitting on the roof playing with their toys. And not only were they playing with their toys, but they had chucked every other toy that they owned out on the grass. And she had no idea. She thought they were down for a nap. They were quiet. She thought they're sleeping. Never trust a sleeping kid. Or you think that they're sleeping. Because they're tricky. So number 2. Oh, shoot, I went too fast. Now you know my secret. Sometimes I write stuff down because otherwise my brain goes too fast. So number 2. Another lady said that when she was, her sister was 14, she was complaining of a stomach ache and she had cramps. And her mom assumed that she was just trying to get out of her chores, so she made her keep cleaning, even though her sister was crying. Several hours later, after the cleaning was done, the sister was still complaining, so the mom finally gave in and took her to the emergency room. And it turns out that her appendix was about to burst and she was rushed into emergency surgery. So her mom will never assume that they're faking an illness after that. Speaking of illness, the next time you get a prescription from the doctor, be sure and read the label on how to use it. This next one is about a mom who got a prescription from a doctor for a bad case of chickenpox. And for 3 days, this mom spoon-fed her kid calamine lotion to cure his itchiness. So I don't even understand how you do not know that calamine lotion, you don't drink that. Everybody knows what calamine lotion is, don't they? This is another good one because I've done not this exact thing, but, kind of, sort of. Another mom left her son at Walmart when he was about 12, she actually got halfway home, counted the kids in her rearview mirror, and realized that he was gone. So when she zoomed back to go get him, he was still playing games in the front entrance. He didn't even know they had left. So keep in mind, ladies, something that traumatizes you and think might traumatize your kids, lots of times, they're not even paying attention. They have no idea that you're failing at this mom thing. No clue. Number 4, and I've done something like this too. She sent her first grader to school dressed as Hulk Hogan, complete with the mustache and muscles for Dress Like Your Favorite Celebrity Day. But little did she know, it was actually the following Wednesday. So he went to school dressed like Hulk Hogan, and nobody else did. Yikes. Let's see. Oh, I have 2 of the same mama fails on here. Oh, cool. So we're going to have 9, I think, now instead of 10, because I did the one about the prescription on here twice. Sorry, mom fail. Anyway, do you guys ever help your kids with their homework? Well, I have another mom who did, and it turns out he was the only kid in the class to get everyone wrong. Woo, woo. It was probably math. Anyway, so another one that I picked was a mom who was planning a party for her son's 4th birthday, and she wanted to do something a little extra special. So she ordered a piñata for them. And many of her friends have suggested a piñata because every kid loves them. I mean, what kid wouldn't want to play a game that results in a downpour of candy? So she picked up the piñata, feeling very proud. She figures this is a mom win. And when it was time to play, the kids were all excited. They were going to smash it open. They were hitting it. And finally, it burst open. Oh, that's my dog. Pause, please. Hopefully you don't hear a lot of echo. But the kids were, sorry, live podcasting here, ladies and gentlemen. The piñata opened, but the piñata was not met with cheers. Instead, it was met with dead silence because the mom had forgotten one very important part, and that was to fill it with some candy. She thought the piñata had already came loaded. And TBH, I think I've thought that before too. I think it's kind of a ripoff. You spend like $30 on a piñata, it should have candy in it. I mean, seriously, get a grip. All right, what's next? This one is also really fun. So a mom was pulling her 6-month-old son in a little plastic sled, feeling all proud. We're out in the snow, hanging out. And a man drove by, honked his horn. So she's waving, hi. He honked his horn again. He's flailing his arms all about. So she looks behind her to see that the sled had flipped over and she was pulling it upside down with her kid's face in the snow. Ha! Good times. That actually reminds me of one of my mom fails, and I'm going to stop and pause and tell you about it because it's very funny. When my oldest was like a couple months old, we live in Maine, and it snows, it's icy, and it's cold, and we lived in this apartment building, and I was coming down the steps, and it was very, very icy, and I slipped, and my son went flying face first into a snowbank. I felt terrible. I picked him up. He was crying. His face was all red, and it's snow. He's fine. He was fine. I mean, he was in a snow bank and it wasn't icy or anything like that. It was fluffy snow, but I felt terrible. Absolutely terrible. He's fine now. He's in college. Anyway. Then, so again, another one that I have, probably done or will do at some point in my life. One mom accidentally mixed up pajama day with picture day. And this little guy's face is priceless as he sits there with his little legs crossed and his hands on his lap in his SpongeBob pajamas. And I'm going to post this on my show notes, and you've got to go and check it out because his face is priceless. It's so funny. I laughed out loud when I saw that. This last one finally made me, I think I peed a little bit when I saw this picture of this little girl because it was hilarious. And it reminds me of a dad fail that my husband did that I will tell you on Father's Day. But there was a mom who was unaware that the window in the back seat was open while she was eating sunflower seeds and spitting them out the window. The whole time they're going back into the window into the back seat and getting sunflower seeds all over her sleeping precious little girl. It's hilarious. So see, not one of us has this parenting thing down pat. And maybe it would be a little easier if it wasn't for one tiny, tiny little thing. A little thing called life. Life gets in the way. When we think about being a perfect parent to our perfect child, we forget that not only do we get to love this little bundle of joy, but we also get to go back to work. We get to pay bills. We have doctor's appointments. We have school stuff. We have after school stuff, play dates, birthday parties, and so on. And you can only fit so much stuff in your head. At some point, you're going to drop the ball. For example, one of my epic fails is when my poor little baby was 4 years old and she was going to preschool. And she needed some extra therapy, so she went to one preschool 3 days a week and the other preschool program 2 days a week. Now, this preschool program was affiliated with my other children's school. So it was just another school that was on the same campus as the elementary school kids. So they got to ride the bus with my sons, and usually there would be a teacher there waiting when they got off the bus to pick up the preschool kids and go over to the little preschool. So on one of the days that she was at speech therapy, the other school had put a notice in their backpacks that the school would be closed that day. And we never saw the note. So we didn't get the note because she wasn't there. And the next day, we sent Piper to school on the bus with her brothers. They all got off the bus. And my boys, assuming that the preschool teacher would get Piper, took off to class. And apparently, there was no teacher. She walked herself to class, but she couldn't get in the building. So she sat outside of the building all by herself crying. Now, of course, thank God, somebody saw her there. A trusted parent saw her and, brought her to the school, and they called us, and we felt awful, absolutely awful. And that's not really even our fault. But I've never felt more guilty about anything. And I was hoping she would have forgotten it by now, but no. And every time she tells the story, she adds something even more tragic. It's hilarious. She's definitely my child. I mean, let's face it. I've forgotten a kid at school. I've mixed up school spirit days, picture day. I've showed up late for the first day of dance class. I've forgotten to send send food to school that I'd signed up for. I've gone to the wrong school for an event, which in turn made me late for another school event. I have forgotten diaper bags. I've forgotten to buckle my child into their car seat, their high chair. I've cut their nails too short, their hair too short. I put my newborn baby down at the doctor's office. She was in her little car seat to check out at the doctor's office. And when I was done, I walked away. And the person behind me was like, ma'am, I think you forgot something. I mean, hell, I still have Easter candy sitting on my dresser that I was supposed to send to my son at college. And the worst part about that is I've actually thought about eating it. I mean, but now, don't you feel better? Don't you feel better about your own fails? I mean, we're all pretty much suck at this parenting thing. It's all, like I said, on the job training. You live and learn. And unfortunately, if you have more than one kid, your oldest child is kind of like the guinea pig. So that's the one that you're going to really mess up with a lot. A lot. So, do you feel better? Oh, listen. If you want to share your own epic fails with me, leave me a SpeakPipe message. I would love to have a good laugh at your expense. I'm kidding. Seriously, I would love to hear more of your epic mom fails. It really does make me feel so much better about my own epic fails. Speaking of epic, I have an announcement for all my main peoples. My church, Hosanna Church in Oxford, is hosting a Lighthouse event on July 5th, 2018. The JJ Weeks Band will be performing there with special guest Austin French. And for those of you who don't listen to Christian music, JJ Weeks is a contemporary Christian artist. And to date, they've opened from everyone from Mercy Me and Casting Crowns to the label mates Unspoken. In addition, their music has been featured on the official soundtrack for some high-profile films like God Is Not Dead and Four Blood Moons. And with their debut of their first national release in 2013, the group earned a top 10 single, blah, 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 with Let Them See You, a song that remained on Billboard's national Christian audience charts for 29 weeks. Plus, they're having special guest Austin French, who was on ABC's, the first season of ABC's Rising Star. So I'm really looking forward to listening to this guy. I mean, at the age of 18, he became a pastor and was leading his own congregation. He did that for like 3 years before he went on Rising Star. So the doors open at 6. The concert starts at 7. Tickets are $15. So if you go to thelighthouseevents.com for tickets, or you can find the link to all this stuff and more from what I talked about on my website at www.dfpodcast.com. It's about time that I wrap this up. I do want to say one thing, though, and I know I always do this at the end because while I'm recording, things pop in my head, and I just want to talk about one thing that I saw on Facebook that really, really bothered me. And I've tried to not talk about it, but it really bothered me. So this is my podcast, and I talk about what I want, and I'm going to do it. So I had somebody post on my Facebook about basically, and it was more than just one person, basically who had said any parent who puts their child on medication for any sort of mental issue like ADHD, Asperger's, depression, anxiety, whatever it is, that basically you are abusing your child because basically you are going to turn them into drug addicts and alcoholics because when they get older, they're going to stop taking their pills and then they're going to, find another way to cope. And this really made me angry because the people that are posting this are talking out of their ass. Their kids, I know, are self-medicating with marijuana or alcohol. And I know this. So for you to say that, it really bothered me. And let me just tell you, from a mother who has children with special needs. Now, when you look at my son, you don't think he has special needs because he looks quote unquote normal. But mental illness is something, and he doesn't have a mental illness like bipolar or personality disorder or schizophrenia. He has anxiety and he has Asperger's. Now, Asperger's, no, that is not a mental illness at all, but it is I don't want to say a mental disability, but he could not function the way he was before. Your brain is a powerful, powerful muscle in your body. And when you are missing certain chemicals in your brain can make you feel and think things that either aren't there or aren't true. And the way I've explained it to my kids is basically this. you have like a vitamin deficiency. If you have a vitamin D deficiency, you take vitamin D and you feel better. He is lacking, and myself too. I suffer from anxiety and depression. I take anxiety meds. It's the only one I take. And I remember myself when I wasn't on them and I was miserable. I didn't just throw my kids on meds because I didn't want to deal with them. I saw my child suffering, laying up at night crying because his brain was so busy and he was so exhausted, but his brain wouldn't stop. And all he wanted to do was sleep. And he couldn't. You know, the anxiety of not wanting to go anywhere or do anything because you're afraid. Your brain is making you afraid of what is out there. I get that. So if you want to say that I'm abusing my child by putting him on medication, then I'm an abuser. I think it's child abuse when you see your child suffering and in pain and you don't want to do anything about it because you don't want to put him on medication. Because you don't want him to have, quote unquote, that label. So there, that's my piece. I've said it. I wanted to say a whole lot more, but I need to wrap it up here pretty quickly. If you have a child, so let me just say this. If you have a child that you have on medication, I know, granted, I know there are parents out there who just stuff their kids with meds because they don't want to deal with it. I understand that. But I think that's a very, very small number. I think most of us, all we want to do is help our children and make sure they grow up to be decent human beings. And sometimes they need help. And if giving them, you know, the chemicals that they're missing in their brain in a pill form that you get from the doctor, from the pharmacy, then you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Because I'm the only advocate for my child. These doctors see billions of children, not billions, I'm sorry, hundreds of kids a day. They don't know these kids. They're only going by what the parents say. You can't really blame the doctor either. I mean, yes, some doctors probably think they're, you know, miracle workers and, you know, lifesavers. But they're just human beings, you know? And yes, they make mistakes because they're human. And what works for one child, again, may not work for the other. And you have to, you know your child. Be the advocate for your child. And don't let anybody else make you feel bad. I don't feel bad about putting my child on medication. I don't. I do not. I did not. I will not. Because he was suffering. You know, I see the anxiety and the panic. You see, you know, a little 4-year-old boy, okay, who has anxiety and panic because when his mother was pregnant with him, she didn't take care of herself and she did drugs. And now his brain didn't develop properly. So when you see that child crying on the floor or afraid to do something because he's filled with so much panic and fear because of what somebody else did to him. That's just how his brain was formed. It's just not his fault. You're going to let the child suffer and feel so terrible. I mean, this is why people hurt themselves. This is why kids kill themselves and adults kill themselves because they want to get whatever is in. Most people don't want to die. They just want the pain to stop. They just want whatever is going on in their minds to stop. You know, and if maybe, you know, I don't know. I've said too much. I'm going on and on. I'm on a rant. This is supposed to be a comedy podcast. That's not very funny. Sorry. Let me get back. Let me refocus. All right, I'm going to wrap things up. I want to thank you guys again for listening. If I haven't tortured you guys enough and you want to get more Dysfunction Junction, you can follow us on all of our social media pages. You can connect with us on Facebook at facebook.com/dysfuncjunk7. And of course, on our Facebook group page at facebook.com/groups/DF podcast. And if you prefer Twitter, you can find us at twitter.com/dysfuncjunkmom. And for all you Instagram peeps, you can look us up on instagram.com/dysfuncjunk7. And again, if you are wondering how come I do not have the handle Dysfunction Junction, it's because some douchebag took it before I had a chance. And when you look up Dysfunction Junction, it's about erectile dysfunction. So write that dude a letter, tell him off, and get me my handle. Boop doop. What else did I want to say? Oh, and last but certainly not least, if you would like to donate $1 to this hot mess, because of course, even though it's free for you, it is not free for me. If you would like to donate $1 to this lady, to this person, to me, this person who is crazily ranting all the time, you can visit us on our Patreon page, and that is at Patreon. Oh, what is it? I messed it up. Patreon.com/dysfunctionjunction. Is that it? I think that's it. I think I'm going to go. You guys all have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you guys again soon.
Insane.
Peace.
You make me crazy, make me crazy. Insane. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Insane. You make me crazy, make me crazy. Insane. That's how I feel. That's how I feel.